John F. Kennedy was never supposed to be president. The Camelot myth was a brilliant, desperate lie. Behind the ultimate American icon was a sickly, rebellious spare heir, a walking medical anomaly, and a reckless playboy who nearly faced a firing squad for treason. The famous Kennedy curse wasn't supernatural. It was the terrifying collateral damage of a father's relentless ambition colliding with his children's fragile realities. This is the dark, hidden youth of the spare president, and the chilling lengths his family went to forge a god out of a broken boy. Fact number 1. The index card mother. To understand why Joseph Kennedy took such extreme, overbearing control over his children, you have to look at their mother. Rose Kennedy ran the family not with maternal warmth, but with the clinical detachment of a factory manager. In a house of 9 children, she literally kept a library-style index card catalog for each child. Instead of emotional connection, she recorded their exact weight, shoe sizes, and dental visits on paper cards. She was so detached that she reportedly measured her children's skulls with a tailor's tape to ensure their physical proportions met her strict aristocratic standards. But the darkest detail was her habit of vanishing. In 1944, when Jack was undergoing life-threatening spinal surgery that could have left him paralyzed, his mother didn't hold his hand. She went on a multi-week vacation. Jack famously told a friend, "My mother is a nothing." In the vacuum of Rose's emotional absence, it was the father, Joseph, who stepped in to fiercely micromanage their survival. Fact number 2. The erased sister. The absolute darkest chapter of Jack's youth, and the ultimate proof of his father's desperate protection, was the tragedy of his sister, Rosemary. When she began showing severe erratic behavior and mood swings in her early 20s, Joseph was terrified for her future in a 1940s society that cruelly discarded the mentally ill. Desperate to give his daughter a functional life, he relied on the era's highest medical advice and authorized an experimental frontal lobotomy. It failed catastrophically, leaving her with the mental capacity of a toddler. Joseph was completely broken by the guilt, secretly funding her care in a private Catholic institution for the rest of her life. But for Jack, who was secretly battling his own crippling, chronic physical illnesses, Rosemary's tragedy served as a chilling, silent warning. In the high-stakes Kennedy empire, physical weakness was a curse you had to hide at all costs. Fact number 3. The walking ghost. The man sold to the public as a picture of perfect health was practically a walking ghost. By 1947, Jack was officially diagnosed with Addison's disease, a rare, fatal adrenal failure. Even his famous vibrant golden tan was actually a terrifying symptom of his organs shutting down. Before he turned 35, Jack was so close to death that Catholic priests administered his last rites 4 separate times. Joseph knew that in the ruthless political arena, weakness meant total destruction. To protect Jack from being ruined by the elite, Joseph scoured the globe for secret doctors. To keep his son alive, Jack was surgically implanted with 150 milligram pellets of synthetic hormones directly into his thighs. For the rest of his life, Jack was secretly locked in a rigid steel back brace, surviving on a daily cocktail of heavy narcotics and horse-sized doses of steroids. To ensure rivals couldn't weaponize this agonizing reality, Joseph fiercely protected Jack, ordering that his x-rays and medical files be hidden in secure bank vaults under fake aliases. Fact number 4. The manufactured war hero. The absolute cornerstone of JFK's presidential campaign was his legendary status as a fearless World War II hero, but his greatest military triumph was actually born from a catastrophic blunder. In 1943, while commanding the PT-109 boat in the Pacific, Jack was allegedly idling his vessel in the dead of night with the engines practically off, a devastating negligence in a hostile war zone. Because of this sheer carelessness, a massive Japanese destroyer literally sliced his wooden boat in half in the dark, killing 2 of his men instantly. While Jack did heroically swim for hours to save a wounded crewmate, he was facing a potential court-martial for losing his ship. But his father refused to let Jack's life end in military disgrace. Joseph Kennedy leveraged his media empire and friendly journalists to rewrite the disaster, famously getting the story published in Reader's Digest. Joseph spun a fatal military mistake into a mythic tale of American heroism, buying his son the pristine reputation he needed to survive in politics. Even Jack knew the myth was a joke. Years later, when a reporter asked JFK how he became a war hero, he famously gave a dark, cynical smile and replied, "It was involuntary. They sank my boat." Fact number 5. The bought bestseller. The Camelot myth didn't just require Jack to look like a war hero, he had to look like a brilliant intellectual. But Jack was a notoriously lazy student. In 1940, his senior thesis at Harvard was entirely unremarkable. Knowing a decent paper doesn't build a legacy, Joseph Kennedy took the raw thesis and quietly paid a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist a staggering $5,000, a massive fortune during the Great Depression, just to transform his son's disorganized college notes into a geopolitical masterpiece titled Why England Slept. But Joseph didn't stop at ghostwriters. To ensure the book was a hit, the patriarch secretly purchased an estimated 30,000 copies himself, storing them in basements to artificially manipulate the national bestseller lists. The world hailed 23-year-old Jack as a prodigy. Critics call it corruption. But for Joseph, who believed his sickly son might not live to see 40, it was a desperate father's attempt to give Jack a permanent legacy while he was still alive. Fact number 6. The secret keeper of the White House. This fierce protective circle extended to Jack's chosen family. At an elite boarding school, Jack befriended a quirky boy named Lem Billings. Lem was openly gay. In the fiercely homophobic 1930s, this was a secret that could result in imprisonment and permanently ruin the political dynasty of anyone associated with him. Joseph Kennedy, a rigid Catholic billionaire, had every reason to utterly destroy Lem and banish him from Jack's life. Instead, seeing Lem's unconditional loyalty to his son, Joseph did the exact opposite. He even secretly bankrolled Lem's travel expenses just to ensure Jack never had to face his crippling hospital visits without his best friend by his side. Their bond was so heavily protected by the father that decades later, Lem Billings was given his own private bedroom in the White House, serving as the ultimate hidden guardian of JFK's humanity. Fact number 7. The spy in the bed. Jack's rebellious nature almost vaporized his future in the most dangerous way possible. In late 1941, Jack fell into a passionate, reckless affair with Inga Arvad, a stunning Danish former beauty queen. The terrifying catch: Adolf Hitler himself had personally invited Inga to his VIP box during the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The FBI strongly suspected Inga of being a Nazi spy. Director J. Edgar Hoover had agents literally in the next room at a Charleston hotel, secretly recording every intimate moment between Jack and Inga. The FBI classified these steamy surveillance tapes under the mocking code name Inga Binga, meticulously transcribing every heavy breath. Worse, Jack, working in naval intelligence, was carelessly talking about classified military ship movements. J. Edgar Hoover was fully preparing to use these audio tapes to blackmail the Kennedy empire into total submission. Once again, his father stepped into the line of fire. Joseph deployed his vast wealth and directly lobbied the Secretary of the Navy to pull Jack out of the flames. Joseph essentially called Hoover's bluff, forcing Jack's reassignment to the Pacific. It wasn't an act of tyranny. It was a desperate, calculated rescue mission that saved Jack from a firing squad, ensuring the spare son was still alive to eventually take the throne. If a billionaire could completely manufacture a flawless political idol and hide his dying body from the entire world back in the 1960s, what massive, terrifying illusions do you think today's elites are selling us right now?